might be an employee, you might own the company, but whether you're doing things at work or whether you're doing things at home in your private life, we each have a tendency to continue to do things as we've done them before. Something as simple as mowing the lawn or whatever it might be. And then one day someone shows us a quicker or a better or a faster way of doing the same job. But we never considered looking at the opportunity or the ability to do that particular job either at work or at home in a more effective way until someone brought it to our attention. Or at least most of us are that way. Some of us take the initiative to find different ways to do things better. But my desire is to share with you what I went through just briefly, and to share with you the potential of what this DTVB system provides. When I started, I was in the real estate business as an occupation, and I was in the metro area in the Twin Cities, and banks were not borrowing money to developers like myself, small developers. This was back in late 2006. So in 2007, I made my first trade in the electronic trade in the stock market. In fact, that was the first trade I'd ever bought as a working adult. I had my hands full with other real estate investments, and I was taking care of those. And so I made my first trade on my computer at home and thought that that stock was going to go up. I had no indicators built. I had nothing to go on except a belief that I thought the price was going to go up. And yet I risked thousands of dollars in doing that. And my premise was, after a few weeks, I discovered I just did a real rough calculation on each trade that I had done and what my profit or loss was on each of those trades. And I realized that I was real inconsistent in my activity. And so I immediately set about determining how to build a method or a technique or a system that would give me consistency in trading. So I thought, well, while I'm doing that, I'll continue to trade. I can't believe I said that. What shouldn't I build the system and then trade? What's more important, the next trade that you find, the next trade that you enter, or the system you use to find the trade that you're going to enter? And by far, it's the system. And that's why I kind of look at this thing as a trap that I was in, and we all go through life in different traps, doing things in the status quo, or don't bother me. I'm doing this the way I want to do it. And we're all the same, don't get me wrong. I mean, I'm sharing my traps that I was in. And I'm encouraging you to look really hard at what Day Trading Visual Basics has to offer, because we literally have the best system on the planet, bar none. We don't know of any other system that concentrates on finding the strength of a turnaround. In other words, what kind of market pressure or what kind of market forces are in a cycle top or a cycle bottom when it makes that turn. Gaps are obviously a reaction, or the quickest reaction to a cycle turnaround. The system was built on reversal recognition, and everything about it is trying to find volatility in next day movements. And we can do that through indicator line length, which identifies what's going to happen the next day. I mean, with high probability. We obviously don't know the future, but we can put together some things that give us a real high probability. For example, when you have 10 opportunities, 2 of the 10, you think that all 10 of them are going to go up. You're going to get a really nice big green long candle. 2 out of the 10 go up. 5 or 6 do not do anything but go up slightly, and possibly 2 or 3 or go down. And so out of that 10, you had 20% went in the way that you anticipated it. We created, or I should say I created, a system in which we take the patterns. There are over 20 pattern types up and over 20 pattern types down. In other words, over 20 separate identifiable patterns that we see in the charts. And when we see one of those, we can then identify and make a decision on whether that pattern is one that we want to enter. Along with that pattern, there are conditions that are established. And it's these conditions, like for example, in those 2 out of 10 that went up, when that pattern appeared 10 times, only twice generically did it go up. Maybe if you do 10 more, maybe 3 of them will go up. But when you can pick those 2 or pick those 3, your high probability goes up above 95% in establishing the price direction that you intend or that you anticipate the price to go. And so patterns with good conditions that are verified, and when a signal is used, an indicator signal that tells us when to enter or when to exit the stock, we then have patterns, conditions, and signals. And we identify the pattern, we verify the conditions, and we wait for the signal. And that's the that's the formula power within the system. We have the indicator power, the formula power, and the procedures power. And by analyzing those 10 patterns, you became more knowledgeable about how indicator lines move in their relationship with price movement. You don't realize that until a day later when you determine where the price went. But that's what high probability is all about. And many people think high probability might be 70% or 75%, but we literally have 95% or more high probability in our trades. They obviously can gap one way or the other, and gaps are determined with 3 of the pattern types up. The identical indicators, there are 22 market force recognition indicators, the down touches or the up touches in the trend chart. Trend red, green, and gray will down touch the pink, blue, or yellow lines. And then you have the proximity group patterns, which are basically The power four, which is the pink, blue, white, and yellow, they're in a specific location, and they're in relationship to power Zion, which is either above or under power orange. And you have divergence in location, above or under power orange, and you have divergence in direction. Power Zion can be down and the power four lines can be up. With all of that being said, the system becomes extremely important. The system that you pick becomes extremely important in locating the particular trade that you make. At Day Trading Visual Basics, every single trade that we do has high probability with it, because we only use the patterns with the best conditions that we can find at that particular point in time to make a trade, using signals to determine when to enter or exit the trade. And then, of course, we drop down to a 2-minute chart or a 3-minute chart to make that decision. So when you talk about the most important part of what your system does it, with your system, can you identify a signal that will tell you when to get into the trade or get out of the trade? Can you pick only high probability opportunities? Can you recognize the strength of a turnaround? For example, a BOC pattern is a V-shaped pattern, and the right leg can be higher or lower than the left leg. When it is higher, you have more strength in the market. You have more pressure in the push. And that's the very first day of the turnaround. And that will oftentimes tell us or give us knowledge that we may have, depending on some other evidence or supporting evidence, that we may have a uptrend of 2, 3, 5 days. And every day is analyzed for continuations or no continuation. So the trap that we get into is thinking that we've got a good system. With my system, I built a couple of indicators and thought I had a better system. Then a few weeks later, I had more indicators. And a few months later, I had a lot of indicators built. I thought I had a great system. And I had nothing more than a bunch of indicators. And they weren't even sensitive at that time. It was years later before I learned how to build sensitivity into these things. And that's the secret of the whole system. It's the heart of the system is the 22 market force recognition indicators. These are the indicators that identify the pressures and the power of the force that pushes the price one direction or the other. We created 3 different short-term trend groups: the trend trio, pink, yellow, and blue, swing, red and green, and power, orange and green. Those 7 lines tell us about the short-term trend market trend push. The long-term trend we also built, and that's a exponential average. But if you're doing any kind of trading at all, you know that we're not interested in the long-term trend, at least generally speaking. We're interested in the short-term trends. We're interested in the pullbacks and the rallies. And can you see those with the system that you're using? Do you have a system, or is it just really a method that you're using? Do you always trade high probability trades? You see, when I say we have the best system on the planet, I really mean it. Because we don't know of anybody that can recognize market strength in a movement, and we search and seek those out, find those and trade those, because those candles typically have higher probability. We also find gaps before the gap occurs. Nobody is doing that. Nobody has a system to do that. Everybody will tell you it cannot be done, but yet we can consistently do it because we have discovered, and I'll be the first to admit that some of these indicators we built, we didn't even see the power of them until months later in their, I'll say, in their comparative analysis abilities. And that's the secret of DTVB. It's the combination of the formula power of picking the patterns, verifying the conditions, and using the signals to trade. But all of that cannot be accomplished without the sensitive indicators. There's 40 indicators that we built on the master platform chart. There's 4 band lines, upper and lower band lines. There are Bollinger Band type lines. There's another wide gray line that's a channel type line that we modified. And then there's the master long-term trend line. There's the 7 short-term trend lines that make up the 3 groups of the short-term trend. There's 2 specific lines, swing gray, which is a deep cycle indicator, which tells us when the top and the bottom of the cycle occurs. And then there's swing blue, which is a crossover indicator. Those 2 lines are specialty use lines. The balance is 22 market force recognition indicators. Zip green will tell you the trades that are going in and out of the market. Zip Zion is the grandfather to Zip green. And when Zip Zion is at 0, there are a lot of people leaving the stock. When Zip Zion is at 100, there are a lot of people entering the stock. Or correctly said, there are a lot of trades. There are a lot of people buying the stock. There are 5 price barometers. The 3 price lines, green, red, and blue, Zip Pink and Swing Zion. They track the price. They go in the direction of the price every single minute, every single moment the market is open. Sometimes that's very valuable information. The system that you use is 1,000 times more important than the next trade you make. Because with the best system, you can find the best opportunities. And so this is my desire that you would definitely consider using Day Trading Visual Basics system. There's a free trial you can use. The website has hundreds of videos on it. You can use it 24 hours a day. We encourage you to spend a lot of time here before you start up the system. Before you join us as a member in the system. TradeStation would take, if you're not a member if you're not affiliated with TradeStation, TradeStation will take a deposit from you, and you can trade the funds that you deposit, and you can use the system that we have. It's $179 a month. It was from day one, and we hope to keep it there as long as the system goes. We firmly believe we have the best system on the planet, bar none. We're excited about it. We're confident about it. Our slogan is that we can help you to become a knowledgeable, independent, confident day trader. And we know that with the eyeglasses of the DTVB system, we can help literally anyone drastically improve their current situation without any doubt. I mean, you can do something as simple as when Zip Zion is lowest and going up, you're in an uptrend. You can make money hand over fist just following a Zion colored line, doing nothing else. But it's an exciting system. Sometimes we can't tell. We can see the conditions for a gap up. Sometimes the gap turns into a 5-day small green candle. The end result 5 days later is about the same as the gap, but it's not a perfect system. There's forces pushing different directions constantly, but we can see things happening next day. And we have many leading indicators that will tell us. Zip Red is really fast. Zip Red will move 50, 80, 90 points in one day. The second fastest line is Swing Pink. Swing Pink doesn't move in the line length distances like Zip Red, but it's really quick. And it's absolutely a leading indicator day in, day out, hour after hour. So we are excited about it. We are thrilled that you're taking a look at our system. We hope you'll join us. As I mentioned, there is a free trial. We don't want you to be in a trap, but you know what? It's really hard for me to see the traps that I'm in. And it's really hard for you to see the trap that you're in. And so I really encourage you to look at trading through the eyes of Day Trading Visual Basics. Because even if you get into the system, there's a simulator at TradeStation. You can use Monopoly money and get comfortable. We picked TradeStation because they're the best. So there's a lot of effort that's gone into what we're doing. It's taken us many, many years to develop this. The first couple of years when I started, I had no intention of doing anything but just using whatever I built to stop my inconsistency. And after a while, I realized how valuable this was, because we were beginners, and most of us don't think of ourselves as beginners, but we really are. Trading stocks is a complex process, and some do not understand it as effectively as they should. And even after years of study, you can see things. You can find something different that you didn't identify with the day before. So, excuse me. So, needless to say, we are thrilled about what we've got. We hope that you will look around more, watch more videos. If you're interested in gaps, become familiar with the 3 pattern gaps up and the 3 gap down patterns. Those will show you about how to find gaps. And definitely become familiar with your other patterns as well. Until the next video.